Everybody, it's Lyn from Lyn's Crafts. I've got a tutorial today on doing some faux stones, and these are going to be using alcohol inks and a bit of embossing powder. The embossing powder can be any color you want, but I'm using the Judican's Rustique Weathered Iron. The Ranger Distress would work. Like I said, any embossing powder would work. The only difference in this Rustique Weathered Iron, it has different sizes of particles. When you use it as an embossing powder, it's got particles in there that don't melt. So when you're done with the heat embossing, you wipe it away and it leaves a distressed look. Using it in polymer clay, it's gonna leave both of those size particles behind. So let's get started. I've got a bit of translucent Primo. I'm gonna cut off one bar. Alright, and then I'm gonna roll it out. Roll it out with my acrylic roller first, just to get it down thin enough to go through my pasta machine. You can roll it down with the acrylic roller if you don't have a pasta machine. It doesn't need to necessarily be too thin. I'm going to roll it to a 4 on my pasta machine. That's pretty good. I would roll it down to a 4 if I had it set on a 4. I had it set on the thinnest it would go. So that won't work very well. So I need to mash that back in. Alright. Doesn't necessarily need to be conditioned all that well, because it'll get more conditioned afterwards. Alright, I'm going to use the Adirondack, and this is one of the ones that doesn't have a color on it. So we're just going to call it yellow. Alright, so I'm going to put a few drops of the yellow. And I've got a makeup sponge, and it's actually a really already nasty one, because I've been doing a few of these, but it won't matter if it transfers a bit of color. Alright, and you can see it's streaky, but that's what we want. Alright, so while we're letting this dry, we're just going to pinch a bit of the embossing powder and sprinkle it on. Thicker in some spots, thinner in others, none at all in some spots. Alright? Now that the alcohol has evaporated, we're just going to roll this up. be a little difficult to get it started. And you see it's cracking and all kinds. None of that matters. We just want to bring it together. Alright, and then mash it a bit to make sure there's no air pockets in it. Alright, and then we'll just roll it a bit. And I just mean a bit. We're just trying to smooth it a bit and maybe lengthen it a bit. If your translucent is very old, I've heard a lot of people talk about this lately. When you're buying polymer clay at a craft store, you have no idea of how old it is, how long it's been sitting there, etc. So try to buy your clay, if you can, from an online store that specializes in polymer clay. That way you know you're getting a fresher product. Alright, then I'm just going to roll it up like a snail shell. Doesn't matter if it cracks or any of that kind of stuff. Alright, we've got it rolled up in a snail shell. Now I'm just going to mash it into a ball. Alright, then I'll give it a roll. Alright, get a towel. You can still see the swirls from the rolling it into a spiral. I'll roll it just a bit more. Alright. Then I'm just going to cut it in half. Alright. Now you can choose to make the cabochon from the cut side or from the other side. It really doesn't matter. So I'll do both just to show you the difference. Alright, I did that with the center of my hand. Now I'm going to use more of the heel of my hand to just kind of mash the edges down. Alright, and then I'm going to shape it slightly with my fingers. Alright. And then just to start the process of smoothing the top off, I'm going to drag my fingers lightly with both hands. And I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing. Alright, you can see that it's given it a little bit of a smoother appearance. Alright, then I'm going to bake it. But first I'm going to do this one. Move my towel out of the way. Now this one, the colors won't be as apparent at the beginning, because we're going from the translucent side instead of from the cut side. I know this seems pretty ridiculous, but it really does work. It's almost like we're burnishing it a bit. If you were working with earthenware clay, it would be like burnishing your greenware. Alright. So there it is. We're going to bake these at 275 for an hour. But first, I'm going to do another one. This one I'm going to do a lighter green. Going to use the citrus and a bit of the yellow. Probably not necessary to shake the alcohol inks, but what the heck. Now, if you wanted a more spotted appearance, you could let the alcohol inks dry just like that. Alright, this time I'm going to work from the green side of my sponge. If you're using a glass surface like I am, just a quick spray of alcohol will clean the surface right off, just using a paper towel. Alright, these are some of the ones that I did before. Okay, these were done with a tan alcohol ink. These were done with, I believe, a purple. These two were done with an orange, and these were done with a red. These were done with the citrus and the other green. These were done with a re-inker, and I did have to wipe them off. I dropped the ink on, spread it out with the sponge, and then wiped it off with a paper towel just to leave a thinner coating, because this particular re-inker is very opaque, because as you can see, you can't see the inclusions in there very well. Alright, but on some of these they showed up really nice. Alright, so that's the way these will show up. This is what they look like cut in half. I'll probably mash this one from the translucent side. This one doesn't have as much color, so I'll do it from the cut side. Now if you have a cabochon mold, of course you could put these into a cabochon mold. I don't happen to have a cabochon mold. I like the look of natural stones. Alright. Alright, I'm going to show you the difference. If you can see, my fingerprints are all over this one. It's got a much rougher and bumpier surface. This one, that has all been buffed out, so to speak. Alright. And I'm not really putting any pressure. Just dragging my fingers over the surface. Alright, you can see how much smoother that surface now is. Alright, I'm going to bake these and then I'll be back. Alright, here they are after baking. I've sanded and buffed one and left the other raw. So I hope you can see that. Alright, I'll go ahead and show you the rest of them. Alright. That's just about all the colors of alcohol ink that I have. Although, sorry, that was actually a fib. I've got the watermelon and the sailboat blue. The watermelon is a pinker red. This is actually the Stampin' Up! Poppy. Poppy Parade was the red that I used. And the Pacific Sukaniko was the blue that I used. Alright. So, that's what you can do with alcohol inks and the distress embossing powder. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye now.